Okay, let's jump right into this deep dive. We've got this stack of sources, articles, research, notes you've pulled together,
Uh,
and our mission really is to slice through it all, pull out the most important stuff quickly, clearly, just for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, bypass the overwhelm, get straight to those,
Hmm.
aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're looking at something really fascinating. It's this intersection, right? Where ancient healing practices, well, they meet modern science.
Yeah, connecting that timeless wisdom with what we understand today about biology and health.
Exactly.
It feels so relevant too, because let's face it, we live in a world that's always looking for the quick fix, the new gadget.
A next big thing.
Meanwhile, you've got these systems, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, African herbalism. They've been around for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and they focus on things we maybe forget sometimes, like balance, nature, community.
And look, these systems didn't just, stick around by chance. They lasted because, well, fundamentally they work. And what we found digging through these sources is pretty compelling evidence that modern science is now actively figuring out how and why they work.
Okay.
Understanding that convergence, I think it's key if you want to build a more holistic approach to your own wellness.
So diving into the material then, a big theme seems to be that science isn't just sort of watching from the sidelines. It's actually providing the receipts, you could say.
Ah, yeah, the receipts.
Uh,
That's a good way to put it. We're seeing rigorous studies proving the effectiveness of things used for millennia.
like what specifically?
Well, for instance, there's a ton of research now confirming turmeric's anti-inflammatory power, mainly because of curcumin.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
And even simple things like focused breathwork. Studies clearly show it can lower key stress hormones, like cortisol.
Wow. And it's not just one area of science either, which I found interesting.
No, not at all.
The research seems to point to several cutting-edge fields really driving this, like genetics, microbiome research.
Right, and the whole mind-body connection, which science is getting much better at studying.
So it's moving beyond just, oh, my grandma used this.
Exactly. It's moving beyond anecdote to what one source called evidence-based wellness reborn.
Hmm.
Science is actually starting to map the biochemical pathways
Mm-hmm.
that explain why these ancient methods have an effect.
Okay, let's get into some of those specifics then. Like, how is science seeing this? The material highlights a few core ideas that kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, one of the really insightful things is the perspective shift from epigenetics.
Ah, right. That's the idea that our genes aren't totally fixed. Yeah.
Precisely. We used to think our DNA was just, our destiny. But now we know lifestyle factors, things central to ancient practices like diet, meditation, movement,
Mm-hmm.
they can actually influence how our genes are expressed. These practices might effectively sort of switch on genes linked to health, longevity, resilience.
So meditating daily isn't just calming your mind in the moment.
Nope.
It could actually be like optimizing your genetic expression over time. It's pretty powerful.
It really is. It underscores the deep impact of our choices. And another huge area is gut health.
Oh yeah, the microbiome. Everyone's talking about that.
Right, and traditional diets, the herbs used in ancient systems, they often really nourished a diverse gut microbiome. We're only just now fully appreciating how that internal ecosystem impacts, well, everything. Mood, immunity, even cognitive function through that gut-brain axis.
So ancient healers were kind of intuitively supporting that critical link all along.
Seems like it. And the sources also talk about the placebo effect, but in a new light.
Okay, how so? Because placebo often sounds like it's all in your head.
Well, they argue the rituals in many ancient practices aren't just placebo. They actually engage the brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to change and rewire itself,
Mm-hmm.
and they activate specific biochemical pathways. So the ritual itself becomes an active part of the healing, preparing the mind and body, amplifying the response.
So it's not just wishful thinking, it's like priming the system.
Exactly. It reframes the whole idea of ritual.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've looked at the scientific why.
Yeah.
Let's really dive into the specifics of these ancient systems mentioned in the material.
Okay, let's start with Ayurveda, deeply rooted in India.
5,000 years old. That's just mind-bogglingly ancient.
It really is. And its core idea is all about balance, right? Optimizing health by balancing the body's unique constitution through what they call the doshas.
The doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha, those are the energies, sort of.
Yeah, fundamental energies or patterns. Vata is like air and space, Pitta is fire and water, Kapha is earth and water. And your unique mix of these guides everything.
So it's super personalized.
Yeah.
Your diet, lifestyle, what herbs are great for you.
Exactly. And what's striking is how much scientific validation there is now for key Ayurvedic staples. We mentioned turmeric,
Right, curcumin.
but also ashwagandha. Studies show it really does lower cortisol, that
Yeah.
stress hormone, improve sleep, support immunity, things it's been used for traditionally for ages.
So these aren't just, old wives' tales. There's clinical support.
Definitely. And beyond herbs, think about yoga and meditation. Central to Ayurveda, right? There's tons of research showing they reduce blood pressure, enhance brain function, help regulate mood, basically by balancing the nervous system.
So the takeaway for Ayurveda seems to be this really personalized, integrative system. It blends the ancient wisdom with, well, what science is confirming now, wellness on all levels.
Well put. Okay, moving east, let's talk traditional Chinese medicine, TCM.
Right. Here, the focus is more on energy, isn't it?
Yeah, the core concept is health as a balance between yin and yang energies and the smooth flow of key vital energy through pathways called meridians.
And illness is basically seen as blockages or imbalances in that energy flow.
Exactly. And probably the most well-known TCM practice, acupuncture,
Uh-huh.
has significant scientific backing now. Modern trials confirm it works for chronic pain, migraines, anxiety, even that awful nausea from chemo.
How does science think it works?
Well, the idea is that stimulating specific points influences that energy flow or maybe nerve pathways, neurotransmitters. It promotes the body's own natural healing abilities.
It's pretty amazing that a system based on, invisible energy meridians produces such measurable results.
It really is.
Yeah.
It just shows there are different valid ways of mapping the body's complexity. And
Huh.
TCM isn't just needles, right? It also uses powerful herbs and movement.
Like ginseng.
Ginseng, yeah, highlighted for boosting cognitive function and immune health. And those gentle movement practices like Tai Chi and Qigong.
Oh, I've seen people doing that in parks. It looks so graceful.
It is. And it's proven to improve balance, which is huge for preventing falls in older adults.
Yeah.
And it helps cardiovascular health, too.
So again, it's that mind-body harmony idea in action. TCM seems to blend philosophy and practice to unlock the body's own healing power.
Definitely. Okay, finally, let's touch on African herbalism, which the material describes as having a really distinct character.
Yeah, it sounds deeply spiritual, very community-focused. It uses powerful plants, for sure. But it seems like the context is crucial honoring ancestors, nature as a pharmacy.
Absolutely. And science is validating some of these key plants, too, like devil's claw.
Devil's claw sounds intense.
Huh? Yeah. But it's actually recognized now, even in Europe, for its anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving effects, especially for arthritis.
So a traditional remedy is making its way into, modern pharmacopoeias.
Exactly. Or moringa, packed with antioxidants,
Yeah.
is shown to help lower cholesterol, improve nutrition. And rooibos tea.
Oh, I drink that. The red tea.
Yeah, it has unique antioxidants like aspartame that seem to support heart health and lower stress.
But the material really stresses it's not just about the plant compounds, right? It's the whole communal, spiritual aspect.
That feels key. This is where ancient wisdom really offers a broader perspective. African healing often involves ritual, storytelling, strong community support. The knowledge isn't usually written down. It's passed through generations. Family healers, blending spirituality, botany, community care.
It's such a powerful reminder that healing isn't always just a clinical thing you do alone. It can be the shared journey woven with nature, with your community, blending the physical and spiritual. That really stood out.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, we've seen how science is increasingly backing up the principles and remedies across these incredibly diverse ancient systems. The practical question then, for you listening, is how do you actually bring some of this ancient wisdom into your modern life?
Right, and the material offers some practical guidance here, framing it like building a bigger wellness toolkit, adding these time-tested approaches.
And there are some sensible do's and don'ts. A key do is just start small.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to overhaul everything overnight.
Exactly. Maybe it's just trying turmeric tea or doing 10 minutes of that breath work we talked about each day. Simple steps.
And a really critical don't, please do not start mixing herbs, especially potent ones, with prescription medications without talking to a qualified professional first.
Absolutely crucial. Safety first. Interactions can be serious. And another, to approach these practices with respect for where they came from, their cultural origins. Seek guidance from qualified practitioners who really understand the system, not just, trying stuff from a blog post.
Which leads to finding those practitioners. The advice seems to be look for credentials, lineage, like certified Ayurvedic doctors, licensed TCM folks, herbalists with solid training.
Right. Find someone with depth and wisdom to guide you. And finally, there's this emphasis on personalization and being mindful, understanding your own constitution, maybe your dosha type or your chi balance, maybe journaling about your experience, and seeing health as a journey, not some instant fix.
It's a process, isn't it? Exploring, fine-tuning what works for you. So the practical takeaway seems to be incorporating this stuff is about expansion, adding valuable tools, not necessarily ditching everything else you do.
Yeah, integrating the best of both worlds. Makes sense.
So pulling it all together, looking back at everything we've covered today, the big message from this material really seems to be that, wow, modern science is finally catching up. It's confirming what humanity seems to have known for millennia, that our body, our mind, our environment, they're all deeply interconnected. They co-create our health.
It's a really powerful convergence, isn't it? Ancient knowing, meeting modern data. And, to leave you with a final thought that really jumped out from the material,
Okay.
it suggests that the future is ancient.
The future is ancient, and healing lives in the space between where science meets spirit and time folds into itself.
Yeah. Just a fascinating idea to mull over on your own path to wellness.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving deep with us today.